Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode, a happy hour moment with Anna Morfides from Many Hearts Counseling. And today's video slash podcast is going to be all about soul connections, especially the ones of the romantic kind. We're going to be talking about, yes, love connections, relationships that we have in our lives, and what are these soul contracts, anyways? Because now there are quite a few that are in our awareness. We have soul connections that are known as soulmates. There are soul connections such as known as karmic connections. And the latest one that has really been sort of taking off is the connections that are known as twin flame connections. So we're going to talk about what each one means and their explanation in this spiritual world, and also in, I guess, the 3D reality, which is like the tangible, more scientific level based explanation of why these connections are so important to us in the first place, for our healing, for our growth. Why do they happen as they do? Why are we attracted to certain people only? And if we find ourselves repeating the same relationship, but in a different face, what is it that we are not able to look at in order to get out of that cycle, get out of that hamster wheel, and create a complete new relationship for ourselves? So I've read many books about love and relationships and soulmate connections, karmic connections, twin flame connections. As one of the biggest challenges in my personal life was the challenge that I had with the partner of the opposite sex. It was not until I understood, probably about 6 years ago, I think I was a good 38 years old, the true meaning of relationships and why these connections exist in the first place and why they feel so challenging for so many of us. Based on our attachment style. So now we know attachment style theory. And actually, this book called Attached is a really good book on the science of adult attachment, which originates from our childhood, and how it can help you find and keep love. So again, about our love connections that we have as adults. And this is a book by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, and it's called Attached. I'm going to show it to you one more time. So this is from a scientific point of view, and basically our core beliefs that we acquired as children, right? That is basically the hard drive that kicks in particular subconsciously, day in and day out, and fire signals about who you are and what do you believe the world to be in relation to you. Who do you think that you are? Who do you believe to be unconsciously and predominantly most of the time your worthiness, your lovability, how good you feel in your skin, how attractive you feel that you are. All these core beliefs, along with your attachment style that you acquired as a kid. So out of the 4 attachment styles, we have the secure, the anxious, the avoidant, and the disorganized. Only the secure attachment style produces a person that predominantly thinks and feels positively about themselves. If you fall into the other categories of anxious attached individual and or avoidant attached individual and or disorganized, then most likely you're going to find yourself repeating the same patterns in love connections. And that's why you bring in, not just you, all of us. And The book Keeping the Love That You Find by Dr. Harville Hendricks highlights the exact same thing. All these core beliefs that we acquire in our attachment style has a certain frequency that becomes the electromagnetic field that surrounds us, because our thoughts emit our emotions and our feelings. And then emotion is that energy in motion that lives around us. And most of our thoughts are subconscious. And that's why we're not always conscious of the actual emotion, but we're quite conscious of how we feel. Like, do we predominantly feel sad? Do we predominantly feel anxious? Do we predominantly feel overwhelmed? How do we predominantly feel? How do we predominantly feel in our relationships? I know that the old me would predominantly feel in her relationships scared, anxious that she was going to be left, not fulfilled, not loved, not worthy to be fully loved by someone. I felt needy. I felt quite insecure. Did I already say that? I just didn't feel good, and there was a lot of sadness as well. So I understood that through my core beliefs that I am unworthy, bound to be rejected, bound to be alone, not worthy for love, I am not good enough. All these core beliefs that I acquired as a child led me to have this programming as an adult that day in and day out would have a predominant frequency to it. And due to that frequency, by the law of attraction and by Newton's laws of energy, like attracts like, I would bring in love connections that would resemble my frequency. So my soulmate connections, my karmic connections, my twin flame connection, they would all repeat the same pattern. And that was, I was going to be rejected and abandoned. And I was not worthy to be fully embraced and loved. And I always felt needy and I just felt like I was not enough. Then I understood that I'm calling this in purely for the purpose of healing it and understanding. That set me free from repeating the cycles and the thoughts of what is wrong with me. Why can't anyone love me? I understood the reason why anyone can't really love me is because I never received those 4 S's as a child: to be safe, to be seen, to be secure, and safe, seen, secure, and soothed by my primary caregiver for a lack of, I don't want to say intelligence on her part, but she grew up even worse than I did. They didn't know any better. We grew up in a small village in Greece, so I didn't receive those 4 S's. I acquired an anxious attachment style. I had a very negative self-view about myself. So until I understood that no matter how many times I would change my love interest, until I change the inner state of who I am, I would repeat the same patterns of being rejected, being abandoned, and feeling insecure in my connections, not good enough to be loved. And I would repeat this over and over and over again. So when I changed my inner state of being is when my actual connection started to change. And every time I would shed a core belief, then I would bring in someone that would reflect my new core belief, and so forth until I healed most of it. And then to the level that I love and respect myself now, I'm also receiving that same love and respect from my romantic partner. And it doesn't have to be different partners all the time. It could also just be that one person that elevates to meet you where you are at in this moment. You just don't know what the universe has in store for you, but just have the trust and the knowing that if it's going to be a new connection coming in, or an existing connection changing to rise your new self, know that that is what is meant for you, and have trust in knowing that creation makes no mistakes and it will match you exactly where you're supposed to be matched, without us having an attachment or an expectation of who it's going to be. So how do we keep the love that we find? we look to see about the things that make us feel the most uncomfortable. If you're feeling, say that you feel you're worried that you're going to be abandoned, there's a 99.99% chance that there is an abandonment wound that is alive from within you. And where did that abandonment wound come from? In the case for me, that came from my mother working all the time and not being emotionally available. Therefore, I felt abandoned, that my emotions could not be cuddled, because that's one of the 4 S's that a child needs. And my dad also had left to work overseas, therefore I didn't see him. But a child does not know that, they can't rationalize that, that a caregiver has to go to make money. They internalize that as, I'm not good enough for my dad to be around, therefore insert abandonment wound, and things like that. You want to look at the challenges that you are feeling in your relationship, and you can work from that. That's why you always have the power. Like, the world is a mirror. So whatever you're receiving, take a look within yourself and see, what is it that you can help yourself achieve through that challenge that you're feeling from that person. So both the books, Keeping the Love That You Find and Attached, say the same thing. And if people understood this, if people understood that your childhood wounds and traumas or attachment style are going to be your point of attraction for your adult lover, then you wouldn't feel as if there's something wrong with you and why is it not working out, because it is working out. It's just not working out as we think that it would, expecting that person to make us feel worthy, to make us feel loved, because we have to understand that that person is basically just showing us the lack that we have from within, and we do the work to find our self-worth, to give ourselves love. That's the whole point of a romantic relationship, and that's how we keep it. We don't point the fingers to them, but instead of pointing the finger, we thank them and we send them so much gratitude for being able to show us what it is that we are, what we would benefit the most out of this challenging situation. And then if we go a step further and look into the spiritual component of it, this is a book written by Dr. Brian Weiss. It's called Only Love is Real. And the first book that actually made him famous is Many Lives, Many Masters. That was his original book. And that taps into the spiritual component of our romantic relationships. And he talks about the 3 different kinds that we have. So we have karmic connections, and karmic connections are supposed to be ones, actually they're kind of all the same, whether it's a karmic connection or a twin flame connection or a soulmate connection. They are all going to bring out your thorns. They're all going to prickle our thorns. They're all going to show us what our attachment style is. They're all going to show us what unhelpful core beliefs still live from within us, what traumas are still depicting our nervous system and are not allowing us to be in a state of like joy, gratitude. Like, they're all going to show us the worst parts of ourselves, which are also called the shadows, like that light and dark aspects that we have to our individual self. They're going to show us those darker part of ourselves, and our job is to accept those, accept the fact that we may have not always felt worthy or good enough, and we have maybe made mistakes. I'm making quotation marks in the air here because there's no such thing called mistakes, as my favorite teacher says, but rather there are opportunities for growth and for learning. So soulmates are supposed to be, actually there's a lot of soulmates that we can have in our lifetime, and soulmates does not necessarily mean that of a romantic kind. Soulmates can also be our friends, our family members. They can all be part of the same soul tree that we decide to travel with in each lifetime. And many times soulmates do reincarnate with us in each one of our lifetimes in different ways, like having a different role in our life. It could be an aunt, it could be best friend, it could be a child. And this book by Amy Weiss called Crescendo actually has a really beautiful fictional story about how the souls come together to decide their soul contracts and how they're going to be present in each other's lives this time around. And it's quite joyful to read how they decide if they're going to be a parent or a child, or they decide maybe I can be your parent and maybe you can lose me as a child, and then you will learn about grief and loss. And these sort of beautiful soul contracts that, although they sound sad, like, yes, you can be my child and I can learn by losing you as my child. But also, how beautiful is that it is decided from before, and it's not as tragic as we perceive it to be, because at the end of the day, the soul is never ending. The soul energy is neither created or destroyed. So that soul part of us that makes us who we are is indestructible, and it does come in and out of lifetimes. And it gives me great hope and power to think that I chose all the lessons, even the really hard ones, especially the ones where I've lost people. Excuse me. I feel, yes, it does hurt and it is sad, but I do find so much comfort in knowing that they're still with me, that energetic portion of them. I just can't tap into it right now because I'm in the 3D reality, and I believe that dimension or that frequency, that a soul that has left the human suit is in the 5D dimensional frequency, but we can tap into that when we are dreaming, or even when we are under anesthesia, or when, there's certain parts of, like, in our physical reality that we can reach that level and we can connect with them. And then of course there's lots of people that can practice mediumship and they can tap into that part of the frequency and be able to communicate. So that kind of encompasses the soulmate connections, and we can have up to 4 or 5 romantic lovers that will be a soulmate. And like Brian Weiss's book says, a soulmate doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be with us forever, for like till death do us part. If you decide to get married, sometimes a soulmate will come in just for a split second, a month, 6 months, maybe a year, to teach us a lesson, and then they move on. And then what that lesson would be, you would know. Maybe they showed you, you felt rejected by them and they were a catalyst to you understanding that you have a rejection wound in there somewhere and healing that. Or maybe you felt so unworthy in the connection that they were a catalyst to you finding your worth. And that was the point of that connection. We just don't know until we go through it. That's why we're not supposed to have an attachment and or an expectation to a particular person, because we just don't know what the path laid out is meant to be for the both of us. But all we can do is just live that path the best that we can, with the understanding that it is always happening for us, every single challenge. And when we give gratitude to that, instead of feeling sad about it, then we can overcome anything. And then we have karmic connections, and those are supposed to be some of the most challenging ones, because sometimes maybe a soulmate connection will just bring out one of your wounds or many of your core beliefs. But apparently in a karmic connection, that is supposed to feel challenging all the time, because as the word karmic indicates, It carries karma that you have decided to rewrite or to redo, to make right within a particular lifetime. So you find someone who's prickling like all of these thorns in order to be a catalyst to you in this particular lifetime to undo all the challenges that you have acquired so far. Sometimes it's from this lifetime, sometimes it's from previous lifetimes, because lessons do carry over. Like Dolores Cannon says, life on planet Earth is a master class. It's not a kindergarten class. So sometimes we do repeat a particular lesson in a lifetime. If we haven't overcome it, we do repeat it over and over. If I, for example, did not understand what it means to find my worth or what it means to heal my anxious attachment style, you better believe it that I would repeat the same pattern in my next life. And I believe the same for my brother, who decided to depart early. He decided to give up on this life of his at 27 years old. And my understanding is that when that happens, when you do take your life away from yourself, the chances that you're going to come back and repeat that life but overcome the lesson and have a different outcome are pretty high. And that gives me, I feel like that gives me comfort and hope, although I would hate for him to repeat the same situations that we did as children. Like, I'm so grateful and thankful that I was able to understand why we had those to begin with, and I was able to heal it all in order for me to be where I am today. And there's still a lot that I'm healing. I'm not by any means, I haven't perfected it all, but I am understanding the point of life, and I will never live life like I did before, because now I know that it's always happening for me. And even if I have a challenge in a connection, I will never say, oh, that person is being so and so and so. I will always say, wow, I'm so grateful for that person for showing me what it is that I need to know in this moment. Like, I always take full self responsibility about the way that I'm feeling, as opposed to pointing the finger to them and having an expectation of them to heal me. My only expectation that I have out of anyone these days is just to show me where I am today. And it's not even expectation. Now, I guess I just know that that's going to happen. So going back to repeating lives to learn our lesson, the same thing happens with our connections as well. If we're not learning the lesson we're supposed to learn from a challenge, like if someone is being or we feel disrespected in a connection, then we know that somewhere within our own selves we are disrespecting ourselves. If we're receiving foul language from a lover, then perhaps we need to look at our own inner dialogue and see, how are we talking to ourselves? How are we thinking and feeling about ourselves? It's always, the power is always in your hands, because everything is always going to be a mirror. Like that saying, if you want to know what your frequency are or what your core beliefs are, look at your life around you and your predominant connections, and that will tell you a lot about what your core beliefs are about yourself, what your self-concept is. So take a look at your relationships and see, what are they trying to tell you? So karmic ones are going to be super challenging. And then what is said and what I've learned about the twin flame connection is, this is once every so often in a lifetime. And particularly in this age of Aquarius, a lot of us have been, what's the actual word when you have an encounter with your twin flame, and you'll know your twin flame? Yes, this is it, because you go into a full-on activation. And what I mean by activation is your whole body, your nervous system is going to go into fight or flight, and you're just going to feel activated, and all of a sudden you're going to question everything, and you're not going to be in an understanding of why this person has such a big impact on you. And then you're going to go through the stages that you're thinking and feeling like you can't live without this person, but that's not what the twin flame connection is supposed to accomplish. What really that represents that you need to be with that person, or you feel like you can't live with that person, is because everything from within you is now activated, and it is your catalyst to finding your true self. But your twin flame is supposed to be your other half, because actually, was it Plato that said when the Big Bang Theory happened, the Big Bang Theory happened, and yes, cosmos was created, and then the souls were split into two. So you had the feminine and the masculine, and they separated it, and they kind of floated through consciousness. And now, at the age of Aquarius, because we are needing to shift the consciousness of the earth into a new earth, like Dolores Cannon talks about, or Eckhart Tolle talks about, in order for us, though, to move into the new earth, a lot of us have to have an awakening and understand a conscious way of living and being, and what it truly means to be a human. And the twin flame connection, which is supposed to be, or it is said to be, there's only one twin flame for you, as opposed to there's multiple soulmates that you can have, multiple karmic connections that you can have. A twin flame connection, there's only one counterpart, the other half of you, because you share the same DNA. The same DNA song is what I read somewhere. There's only one of those. And because it represents the other part of you, it is the biggest catalyst for you to finding yourself, finding that other half that you are missing, and finding yourself home. So it's not about the other person. So that yearning that you're feeling about the other person, oh, if I miss him, I want him, her, I love him, her, I can't live without him, her. No. It's you that you're looking for to really love. It's you that you're looking for, the whole and complete version of you that you can't live without anymore. It's you. They're representing that other half of you that you that would be of your highest benefit to heal, to become your whole and complete version, and become so within as without. So you have it all from within. You stop seeking it from the outside. As within, so without. You have all this within. You're without a need of it from anywhere outside of you. So it doesn't matter if you are with someone or not are with someone, because you know that your relationship with yourself comes first. And any one of these single relationships will just be a compass, a catalyst to what would serve you best to heal, whether it's a core belief, an attachment style, or a negative belief about yourself. So I've had the opportunity to now experience soulmate connections, karmic connection, and then yes, I did have the biggest trigger of my life, the twin flame connection, which I am so thankful for, because without all these triggers from the masculine energy in my life, I would have never become this version of myself that I am today. And not by any means was it easy, because I kept repeating the same patterns over and over and over until I understood what it is that they were trying to show me. And I truly believe Dolores Cannon's words when she says that the earth really is a masterclass. This is no joke. We come here to really learn, and I'd rather just learn these lessons now than to come back here and repeat it again over and over, because it doesn't feel good to repeat lessons. But know that that's why that happens to many of us a lot of the times. So there's something wrong with you. You can put a stop to it, and with awareness and knowledge, we can take control of all of our situations in our lives and completely change our reality, our patterns, the way that we experience the world, all simply by noticing what really is taking place right this second. Because like Eckhart Tolle says, the power of now. We just only have the now, and we can only work from the now. We can't worry about the past because it's already taking place and we cannot change it, but we can change the version of self that we are today, right now, to bring in different experiences for our future, for our tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in yet to another episode. If you liked anything about this, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe on the channel so you don't miss another video. If you're listening on your podcast, thank you so much. And I'm really open to ideas about next video that I'm going to do. I really enjoy sharing this knowledge, and I thought this was in particular was going to be important because a lot of us, especially with clients that I see, have challenges in our connections, and they do bring out the worst feelings or the worst parts of ourselves. And now that we know what to do with that, we can alleviate that pain, because life is already challenging enough, and why make it harder for us? And I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.